I fell into the very same trap that I warn others about. I had a good thing going, and so therefore, naturally, I self-sabotaged, just like I'm sure a lot of other artists do. And in this case, it all started with something around the likes of this. I tried watercolors again, even though very clear it is to me that I just don't have the patience and just don't enjoy watercolor as much as I would like to. It's very fun for a very loose, no expectations type of thing, but I do like to be very intentional with my art. So therefore, nonetheless, it didn't work out. Then I saw this other video, somebody trying oil pastels, and I've tried oil pastels in the past, but again, I stopped doing them for a reason. One of them is I just generally don't enjoy drawing for long extended periods of time. And I just feel like oil pastels is generally just a big crayon, that's very easy and smooth and very delightful to use. But nonetheless, it is a crayon and I don't like to color in or draw things very much. But I had to try it again. Why? I don't know why, because quite honestly, I'm perfectly fine with gouache. And I love acrylics, don't get me wrong, but the problem is that the studio that I have right now is too small and it's in my bedroom. In the bedroom that we all sleep in, and I don't feel comfortable using materials or mediums like acrylics or oils, anything that could possibly give off fumes in this bedroom where we sleep. I'd rather wait for a time and place where I have some type of area where it's isolated from the rest of the house and there's very good ventilation to feel happy about it, because in the back of my mind it nags me that I'm using acrylics and that it's possibly toxic. So right now this is me using gouache again, and I kind of used it in a way almost like Black Bean CMS uses oil pastels. I painted differently than what I normally would paint. I usually would cover a large surface and then go over it with layers, but it ends up making the painting almost a little bit too dull in variety of colors. And I really like the spontaneity and the colors and the vibrancy of his works, and I wanted to replicate something like that, but with gouache, because I generally enjoy using gouache, the process of laying it down on paper. It just feels so good and creamy to me, and I really love that. Plus, I get the vibrancy of acrylics without dealing with the toxins of acrylics and without dealing with the harsh heaviness of acrylic paint itself. So I decided to go back to gouache, but this wasn't without about 2 to 3 weeks of me just racking my brain and seriously being stressed out about what type of medium I wanted to use. What was the main medium that I wanted to use? And I know what you're thinking. Hey, you don't need to stick to one medium. Listen, Linda. Yes, I do need to stick to one medium. I do. Because I only work cohesively if I use one medium. That's just the way it works for me. And it allows my brain to find relief from trying to understand and work various mediums at one time. Also, because in the future, I do want to provide courses, and I want to be able to be excellent in one medium rather than just be good and having a very superficial course to show for it. So I want to apologize to any new viewers, which will probably be almost everybody that's viewing this at this point. My name is Lily. I am a self-taught artist, and I'm striving to try to make this a sustainable career. So this portrait is actually a portrait based on a caricature of Betty Davis. So I tried to draw it a little bit more loosely than I would try to draw a realistic version of Betty Davis. But I wanted to draw Betty Davis because she actually happens to be, I think, the longest running actress ever. She's been acting for the longest period of time in her life than anybody else. Also, her work is quite excellent. If you have never seen Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, that movie is chef's kiss. I love that movie. It's just perfect. It's the best mixture of like a psycho thriller with old classic. It's a black and white movie, so if you know, you're not into that, just come prepared, because you're gonna love black and white film. Black and white film is excellent. Okay, black and white film does something to image that color does not do. But yes, so I'm doing Betty Davis in the younger years. This photo that I used to reference this picture, I believe she was probably around in her 20s. So I wanted to replicate something like that. There was no necessary any age preference that I had. It was just mainly which picture inspired me the most, and that picture happened to inspire me the most. So let me go back to the 2 to 3 week period of struggle that I had. This was very taxing mentally, and I know I sound very dramatic, just trying to find a medium that best suits me that I can stick to, but you don't understand how important and how passionate I am about this. I literally lose sleep if I am anxious about my art or things around that matter of just trying to find a medium, trying to stick to something, trying to stick to a subject or a series of paintings. If I'm in the limbo, that is when I become the most stressed, and I literally lose sleep over it. And something that doesn't work for me is usually when I stay up at night, late at night, trying to figure this out. Nothing good ever comes from me trying to figure it out late at night. I don't know how Black Bean CMS does it. I mean, he has his life to deal with, and I have my house to take care of, my children, and just I have it's a limited time that I have. So when I should be sleeping, if I take it to do this, to try to figure out the issue that I'm having with my art, it becomes very taxing for me, and it just dribbles down. I don't even know if I said that word right, but yeah, it just like drizzles down into the morning and the rest of the day the next day, and I literally can't focus. I can't be present because I am so preoccupied with whatever is concerning me as far as my art. And you know what's funny? When I look back in high school, this would never have been the case. I was so disinterested in art in general that I really could care less if I lost any ability whatsoever to draw or to create art again. It wasn't till like my 20s that I actually started becoming serious about doing art again. Late 20s, by the way. I would say very, very close, if not 30s. Yeah, like 28, 29. Personally, I'm so over this back and forth that I decided to throw away my watercolors. I unfortunately didn't even wait to try to donate it to somebody. I just threw them away because that is how disturbed I was from going back and forth when I know very well that watercolors just isn't for me. It's fun to do as a no obligations, nothing serious type of thing. Loosely draw, loosely put paint on the paper for me. But it's not conducive for me to make the type of art that I like to do. The art that I like to do is very much more like a vibrant pop of color type of thing that is just, I cannot achieve that unless I work 10 times harder with 10 times more layer in watercolor. And what's the point of me trying to force a medium to do something that it's not what it originally was intended to do? So yeah, there's no shade, absolute no shade on watercolor artists, because I absolutely love the way that watercolor looks and the process that I see in the videos. And just a quick thought, random thought here. I really appreciate the vibrancy of that blue right there with the gouache. Something I couldn't achieve if I had put layers upon layers of watercolor on this painting. But yeah, that was just a quick, little side rant thing. But yeah, so like I said, I really do appreciate watercolor artists. I think that they are amazing. I think the flow, just watching it, is so satisfying, and it's so like stress relieving. So I really appreciate watercolor like tutorials and watercolor time lapses and speed paints. But nonetheless, when it comes to me creating it's just, the process is just a little bit too much for me. I will say though that when you add layer upon layer of watercolor, it just gives a different vibrancy and silk look to it. Like I don't even know how to explain it, but there's like a sheen to it that you don't get with gouache. Now, the way that I see of combating that is using varnish over gouache. And I did purchase a varnish that is more friendly when it comes to, it's toxic. It's still toxic, but it's more friendly. It's like a rub-on varnish. So it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to spray it and it doesn't emit more fumes in the air than you normally would. However, you do have to do it outside or in a ventilated area because it is actually still toxic. It has like mineral spirits or something to the likeness, and other protected chemicals and stuff that they use in order to get the result that they need to varnish watercolor or gouache paintings. If you're interested in that, by the way, let me know in the comments down below and I'll let you know. I'll send you a link over to that type of varnish that I'm talking about. I just don't have it with me right now, so I can't think of the name for it. I'm really sorry about that. One thing that I find with gouache is just that it tends to be a little bit flat for my liking. And I think that a good way to combat that is to draw it in the process that I did imitating Black Bean CMS's portraits. Just working in small areas rather than just going with a full layer of underpainting and then going over with like large areas that flatten out the image. Like for example, the hair right here, it's a flattened out image because it's just like a large area of the same color. Going about it in small sections as if you were painting with oil pastels is really good to give it a little bit more interest, in my opinion, rather than just going and treating gouache in the traditional way that we've come to treat gouache, which is using larger areas and then applying layers of detail over it. In this case, what I'm doing is I'm using smaller areas and creating different color changes and dynamics in order to make the piece more interesting. And I found that actually helps with the matteness, because although matte is a beautiful, effect of gouache, it can also make it very dull looking. And there's a piece that I did before in this series that I'm very proud of, but since I didn't apply this technique, it looked very much gouache to me, and so it just kind of it didn't give me what I wanted it to give me. So yeah, I found that using this process helps me become satisfied with gouache and what it's doing for my paintings. Something that actually was a little bit difficult for me is that I did not plan whatsoever the background. So I really didn't know what to do for the the background. So I kind of just went for an all over color, but you'll see later on that I do add stuff to it. And generally I tend to work best that way. When I just go on a whim and freestyle and just kind of improvise whatever it is I'm doing in the painting, it just generally tends to work out better for me rather than planning it a little bit too much. So in this case, I was kind of going for a yellow effect, but I wanted to cover it a little bit so I didn't waste too much gouache. Wanted to do a little bit of a washed down version and then go over it with a thicker layer. I found that, or at least I find that it helps to not waste too much gouache because I'm not using such a thick layer in the first place to do the background. However, I for some reason decided to use orange instead of the yellow and then just went on over it with the orange. Doesn't matter, it's a close color and it covers fine. So I did that and I really didn't know what else to do with this painting, so I did the most amateurish thing that you could possibly think a person could do to this painting, and you're going to see it soon. Well, I thought you were gonna see it soon, but I guess I forgot to show you guys the part where I add the little details such as the lashes and stuff, and also the shine in the hair. I went pretty loosely with the shine in the hair, and then it turned out to look pretty, like, I guess realistic to me, which was funny because I don't know, when I didn't try, it actually ended up looking a lot more than like what I would like it to look like than when I did try. But yeah, you're gonna see now when I do the hair that I try to do it very loosely and just try to capture the little baby hairs, the parting in the hair, and also just like the shine of the hair in general, and try to give it a little bit of movement so the person knows that there are curls in the bottom. And yeah, that's what I like. That's what I was trying to go for. Yeah, totally. All right. Okay, here comes the brilliance of my mind. What do I do with the background? I just write what I drew. Yeah, I drew Betty Davis, so I wrote it so that you know that that's Betty Davis, and because I really had no idea what else to do with the background. Now, this piece, I do want to put it for sale, but, and let me stop there really quick. I use the Arteza watercolor metallic colors over this for these little like details right here, and I love that, by the way. I didn't know it was like I was capable of doing that, but it worked, and I'm so happy for that. But yes, I did the most basic thing. I put Betty Davis. The print that is for sale in my website has a little bit more added to it. But yeah, that is my rant for today, guys. So please stop yourself when you're self-sabotaging and just do what you planned to do. And anyways, that's my rant. All right, guys, keep painting. Bye.